But let's talk about our natto. But you could see here, I've got this beautiful bowl of miso soup, a beautiful clay pot of miso soup I've already made. I'm going to have that with my breakfast, which I'm going to show you in great detail as we make our natto. So, why did I call this Give Natto a Chance? Because I kind of never really liked it very much. In fact, I would tell people that I hated it. I don't like to use that word, but I would say, oh, I just hate it because I could never get it to taste good. Well, then I bought a bunch of it a few months ago, ended up throwing it away and I had like 5 different kinds. And hi, Terry, every time I would try to make it, it wouldn't taste good. And I would be like, oh, this is kind of weird tasting bitter. And my mother, who's Japanese, she ate it all the time. And I didn't like it when I was growing up either. I would just tell her, I'm not going to eat that. It's rotten. And what is natto? Let's talk about that. Natto is fermented soybeans. Could be a couple different kinds. It could be brown, regular soybeans. Or today I'm using black natto, which is black kuramame soybeans. But what's the big deal about it? Well, we found out a lot more in recent years about gut health and what's good for the microbiome. And one of the things that always came up is natto. Don't call it natto or natto. It's natto. And that came up. So it was kind of like, well, what is it? Well, it's soybeans that have been inoculated with a bacteria or some kind of culture, kind of like yogurt. How when you make yogurt, you add the culture to the yogurt, and that makes it ferment. Well, it's the same thing. It's a starter, and it's called nattokin, but it's made of a certain bacteria. And then it's fermented in a warm environment for about 24 to 48 hours. So it's not left to rot somewhere. It's just fermented like you would other things, sauerkraut, kimchi, think of the things you ferment, yogurt, similar, 24 to 48 hours in a warm environment, a little bit warmer than room temperature. And then after that, you put it in the refrigerator for another few days, and then you have this very sticky kind of substance. And some people call it slimy. I guess you could call it that, but that's just part of what happens when you ferment soybeans. There's nothing bad about it. It's not going to kill you. It's not a bad food, but the Japanese people have been eating it for centuries, and it's a health food there. It's something known for good health. It's good. It has, I even made a list of all the benefits of it. It's high in protein, nutrients, especially vitamin K. So you're not supposed to use natto if you are taking blood thinners. So don't use natto if you're taking blood thinners. And it's good for bloating, constipation. It's rich in probiotics. It's good for your bone health. It's good for your heart. There are just so many benefits of it. So those are all the reasons to use it. So what do you look for in the store? First of all, you'll see it if you go into H Mart or an Asian store. You'll see all these stacks of packages, and they look like this. I've used one. So they're usually 3 packs, 5 packs, 4 packs. And they have the name will be on the top. And this one is called Yoshino Natto. And it'll tell you on the package that it has seasoning. It has the soybeans, and then it has the seasonings. And the seasonings might say sugar, mirin, MSG. It might have fish flakes or something. But I don't want you to worry about it because those seasonings are in a package and you don't have to use them. And the natto itself, the soybean part, when you open it, it comes like this. I saved my little container. When you open the container, it'll have the sauces in a separate package. So you don't have to use those sauces. And that's where you'll have the fish sauce or the fish flakes or MSG or anything you might not want to eat. And then it'll have this little square of the natto. And I've had it sitting here to defrost for a few minutes. So I'm going to tell you my secret of how I got it to taste good. And I'm not going to use these packages because this particular brand says that has katsubushi, which is dried fish. Now, I should really put these back in the freezer right away, but I'm not near my freezer, so I'm going to leave them sitting out just for a few minutes until I get back to that. So we just have only the soybeans, only the natto, and they've been sitting out for about 20 minutes, and they're still partially frozen. that is the best way to eat these, believe it or not, is they taste better if you make them when they're partially frozen. I see Lori, Dylan, another person, Terry. So I'm seeing quite a few people. 11 people are attending. That's awesome. I did also want to point out that the black soybeans are different from the traditional ones that you'll see, like this Yoshino natto. These are brown. Brown ones are smaller. And what I found out, which was unexpected, is that the black ones taste better to me. They're milder. They just have a better taste. They're not as weird tasting, I guess you could say, as the other. So then how do you season it if you don't use the packets that it comes with? If you're plant-based like me, unless it says it's plant-based, and I think one of these, the other one, the Yoshino natto, doesn't have any fish in it, but this one did. So I'm not going to use that, but I can use my regular old soy sauce. Just drizzle it on. And another thing I love to use, and it goes really well with natto, is yellow mustard. And the Japanese use this yellow hot mustard all the time for stuff. And I once ordered what I thought was one box, but I ordered a case of it. So I gave away a bunch of it, and I have several tubes left, like 7 or 8 tubes of this in my pantry. And I need to use it, but it's not something I use all the time. No, it's kind of hard to open my trusty little knife here. I don't use it for a lot of things. It just has certain uses, so you can't just use it on everything, but it goes really good with natto. So you put I put a lot because I like things spicy, but you probably shouldn't put that much. Okay. And then I'll put some scallions in. I have a bowl of scallions over here. All right. So then what you do is you start mixing it together. And this is where you'll see the thing that people talk about with natto. You see how it's kind of got the strings, and people will say, oh, that's so gross. I hate that. Oh, it's terrible. But it's really not. That's the fermentation. And remember, it's only fermented for 24 to 48 hours. It's not something disgusting or anything. Then I put a generous amount of scallions in there. So I have this beautiful natto mixture with my own low sodium soy sauce, a little yellow Japanese or Chinese mustard that you can get it on Amazon or the grocery store, Asian stores. And there's my natto mixture. It's that simple. So what am I going to do with it? Well, now I'm going to make the rest of my Japanese breakfast. Let me put this back a little so you can see all the things I'm doing. So I have my miso soup here, and it's delicious and beautiful. I'm going to serve it. But I also have, and this one you can't see very well, so I'm going to move you over here. I also have a donabe for making rice. And this thing has got 2 lids. It has one lid that goes right over the rice, and then it has kind of a dome lid. And this makes the best rice I've ever tasted. I'll do you a close-up of it. You can see each rice kernel is completely separate, and it has that kind of texture that you want to see in Japanese rice, where it's kind of sticky, but it's not wet. It's like sticky but separate. So you can see it kind of in the close-up. It has a really good, and it's hard to describe just how good the texture of this is. So I've been wanting to do a class on the donabe containers. Let's see, Miyoko Shitter made this on her YouTube channel. That's cool. She made what? Natto or donabe rice. So I'm going to put the donabe pot over there. And then this special donabe is just for miso soup, and it makes miso soup for about 2 servings. And so that's what I used it for today. And what's really nice about it is after you turn it off the heat, then it still stays hot, which is so cool. So I have my little Japanese breakfast set up here. I have a lacquer tray, got it in Japan years ago. I have a bowl for my soup. I've already served my rice. And then I have containers for a couple other things. And I'm going to go ahead and sorry about the noise. I'm going to put my soup and rice on it, and then I'm going to add the other things. And I've just got my natto off to the side here. And what I'm going to do with it is I'm going to put it in one of these bowls. Actually, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna put it on top of my rice today. That was the way I found that I liked it the best. SD joined. Denise said, oh, she hasn't answered me. So was it natto that she shared, Miyoko? Oh, she made natto. Okay, good. Yeah, it's very popular with Japanese people. Now I'm gonna serve some of my miso soup. My miso soup is my standard one I make all the time. I've made it. I have a YouTube video of me making it. And it has shiitake mushrooms, it has wakame seaweed, tofu, carrots, and um, that's about it. And then the other thing is we put some scallions on top. Always put scallions on top of your miso soup. That makes it taste better. And sometimes I'll put the little spicy red chili powder called shishimi togarashi. That's really good. Okay, so here's my really great miso soup. I make it all the time. You can find that recipe in a lot of places, but I'll probably do a post. I can't put it on the live. There's nowhere for me to put a recipe here on the live, but I can go in on Substack and write a post with recipe pictures, and then I can post this on there. Miso soup looks incredible. I saw the picture in your retreat. Yes, I do make this all the time. It's just any vegetables in a dashi broth, add some mushroom powder, add, I use mushrooms and carrots, but you can use zucchini, you can use spinach, any kind of vegetables you like. And then you cook it until the vegetables are tender, add the wakame, and wakame seaweed you find it in a lot of miso soup. It's basically just it's dry. You soak it in water. Then what happens is it kind of expands and it blooms very quickly, just in cold water. And before you know it, you have a big, nice green piece of seaweed. And wakame is super healthy. Again, it has lots of vitamins. It's loaded with nutrients. It has, it's good for your thyroid because it has iodine. It has folate. So, think about how healthy the Japanese people are. They use a lot of seaweed in their food. So the last thing I'm going to make for my Japanese breakfast is speaking of seaweed, another use for seaweed is just take a seaweed. I see 15 people are watching this. That's incredible. I love that. This seaweed, my husband gave it to me on my trip to Japan last year, and it is the best tasting seaweed. I don't think I've ever seen it anywhere in the United States, but she got me a bunch of it. So I try to find ways to use it. So I'm going to do what my mother always did when she made something with seaweed is she toasted the seaweed on the stove. So I have a gas stove. So I just put it on here for a few seconds. And that just gives it a real crispy, nice texture. I love it. And you can smell it. It kind of brings out the flavor in it. And I think, a lot of Japanese people do this. I haven't seen too many other people do it. And then I'm just going to fold my seaweed into quarters. And then I can just easily cut it along the folds. Does anyone have any questions or any comments? I can see your comments. I can see your questions if you have any. So don't be shy. So don't make your natto until right before you're ready to eat it, because trust me on this, it will taste so much better if you eat it fresh. Okay, I have my little squares of seaweed, and you'll see what I'm going to do with these here in a minute. Okay, so what else am I going to put on my Japanese breakfast tray? So you see I have the breakfast spot here. Make this a little bit easier. I have my board here with I'm going to put my thingy right here so you can see it all. Okay, so I have my rice, my miso soup. Let's see, Carol's joined. Hi, Carol. And I have room for a couple more items. And remember, I have my natto is right here. It's in a separate bowl because I'm going to put it on my rice right before I get ready to eat it. If I put it on the warm rice too soon, then it's going to get it's going to get soggy and weird tasting. Okay, so on my tray, you probably didn't see this, I also have my chopsticks. And I have to show you because it's really cute. I have a chopstick rest. It looks like a dog. I got it in Japan last year. And these beautiful chopsticks were a gift from my cousin for our anniversary. We were there during our anniversary, and they're like really beautiful, special chopsticks with a moon and a rabbit, which stands for long life or something. Okay. Does the miso get added near the end of the soup to preserve its nutrition? Yes, Denise. I just added it right before we started the live stream after I'd turned the heat off. And that's another good thing about using the miso rabe pot is it retains the heat, but you can turn it off and it's not going to keep boiling. Okay, so let's get our other things on here. I have some Japanese greens. I have a huge bowl of them, and I'm not going to put all of them in my dish here. I'm going to put a little pile of my Japanese greens. And those of you who know me know that my Japanese greens are made by blanching greens in water for 30 seconds. I'm going to put a little ume plum vinegar on them because that tastes really good. Just a few drops. And then I'll squeeze all the water out of the greens after I dump them in some ice water. This is my gomiso. Gomiso is sesame seeds, a little bit of salt, and it's toasted sesame seeds ground up in a mortar and pestle, added a little bit of cane sugar and salt. Much. So, and that gives things a really good taste. So you see my greens are fantastic. I eat these pretty much every day. So if you wonder why at 71 years old, I'm in good health and, doing well on my weight and everything else, this is the kind of food I eat all the time. And I think it's really good. It's good for your health. It's good for your skin. It's just good for everything. So don't be afraid to eat Japanese breakfast. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to put in here is umeboshi, and I got this at the Asian store. If I can open it, that would be a miracle. Come on down. It's been open before. There we go. All right, and they're preserved salty plums, and these are a really good brand. They were kind of expensive, but you just look at the ingredients on them. But this is a breakfast food in Japan. You see it all the time. There's a pit in the inside, so don't eat the pit. But it comes off in little bits, and then you eat a little bite of that with rice, and it tastes really good. And the other thing I can use to flavor my rice if I wanted to, I may not do it today because I'm going to put natto over it, but I could put some of this furikake on my rice. And a lot of people love this. They put it on everything. It's just got some seaweed, sesame seed, a little bit of sugar, and that's it. This doesn't have any fish. It doesn't have any katsuobushi in it. Okay, so to eat the natto, and like I said, I like it when it's almost still at the frozen state. I'm not going to put all of it on here. I'll just put a little bit on here. What I love to do is put it on top of the rice, like that, and then just eat it with a piece of rice. So just grab a little bit of the natto with the rice. It's really good. And if you want it to be more seasoned, you can add more soy sauce or whatever to it. There's some other alternatives to season it that include adding rice vinegar. So you could take your natto, and I just put some of the yellow Chinese mustard like this. Remember that? And some low sodium soy sauce. But you could also put rice vinegar. You could put something hot in it, like sriracha, if you like something hot. You could put grated ginger in it. You could add a little tahini. You could add ponzu sauce that has lemon. So there's a lot of other ways you can season this. The classic one for the Japanese is the mustard and the soy sauce. And then also, it's quite common to use an egg. So to put like an egg yolk, a raw egg even in it. Because a common breakfast dish in Japan was, and my mother used to eat this, was raw egg on rice. She would, I know it sounds weird, I wouldn't eat it now. She would beat up an egg and then she would just put it over really hot rice. But I'm not going to do that. Well, then here's my miso soup. It's beautiful and it's nice and warm. And the traditional way to eat it is to use chopsticks, not spoons, to get the solids out and then drink it. Just put one hand on the bottom, another hand around it, and then drink it. Um, the only time you see people using spoons for miso soup is in a Japanese restaurant full of foreigners because the Japanese just drink it. And then here's my little umeboshi plum. And these are all things that taste really good in the morning with your rice. And you just tear a little piece off and put it with a mouthful of rice. It's really good. And then last but not least is the wonderful Japanese greens with my homemade gomaiso sesame seed sprinkle. Mm. And I do use that on a lot of other stuff. So what do I need the seaweed for? So some people that are not sure about natto and the taste of it and whether they love it or not have shared that they like to put it and make like a hand roll with it. Okay. So a hand roll, you'll take your rice with your natto, get a nice big piece here. And we can get some more natto out of the other bowl where I have a lot. Okay. So we have our natto and our rice, and then we can just fold it. There's nothing fancy here. Oops. Came out the end, and you just fold it like a taco and then just eat it. And that kind of disguises the flavor of the natto a little bit more because it's wrapped in the seaweed. So there you go. And my seaweed was nice and crispy because I toasted it. You can also use Korean seaweed, which it's all been roasted and it has salt but it does have oil in it. So I try not to use that. I use just the regular seaweed. And like I said, if you don't want that kind of seaweed, you can try, the furikake and put that on top. And that kind of gives it an extra flavor. So there you go. There is the Japanese breakfast. You can see I made the miso soup and the beautiful miso soup donabe. We had the rice with the Japanese stovetop rice pot. And of course, if you want to use your brown rice or grain mixes or whatever and make whatever you want to make, you can have a bowl of brown rice with this. You don't have to use Japanese white rice. I do like to make the white rice and keep it in the freezer at all times because there are times when I just want to have a bowl of my mother's Japanese rice and I don't want brown rice. And so I'm okay with that. It's not my daily rice. I usually do eat brown rice. I had that brown rice last night or some kind of other grain. So, don't be afraid to eat Japanese white rice once in a while. We don't always have to eat whole grain rice. Some people are big sticklers on that, but not me. Anyway, that's it for today. I had it was just all about natto. So don't be afraid to buy it. The black natto will probably come in a black package. And it is the black, thicker, bigger soybeans, and they do taste really good. And then the classic ones are kind of small brown ones, and they taste good. Just be sure to add your seasoning, add the soy sauce, add the mustard, add the scallions. This sounds wonderful on this cooler day in Texas. SD said, great. I think you'll like it. That's why I wanted to title this Give Natto a Chance, because I think a lot of people are afraid to even try it, don't really know what to do with it. And some of these things that I'm telling you, I've just learned recently, where before I let it sit out and thaw for a long time, and then it got really like a little stringier, and I didn't like it at all. But I realized that when it was almost even still a little frozen, by the time I put it on the rice and started eating it, it had the best texture. So that's the way I like to eat it. So make some natto, and I will post the recipe for all of these things in a note. So watch your Substack, watch the notes section, because that's where I can post recipes and photos and stuff pretty easily. Or I could do a post and then that gets emailed to you. So I'll see. I'll probably title it Natto Japanese Breakfast because it includes miso soup, rice, and natto and the greens. So I probably should put all the recipes on there, shouldn't I? So that you can have all of them. What do you think? Looks like 17 people have watched this live stream, which I think is incredible. So Dorothy says, thanks so much. Well, you're welcome. And now I need to go so I could eat my beautiful Japanese breakfast and eat plenty of natto for my health. Eat it about 2 or 3 times a week is recommended. It seems like a lot to me, but you know, if you have it, eat it. It lasts for a long time in the freezer. Okay, bye everybody. And my next video I'm working on is going to be broccoli cheese soup, vegan style, of course. So I know you'll like that. Bye, everybody.